will not talk to her? No matter. The water outside her door will.
Up that tree, there's sort of a squirrel thing. Sounds just like we did when we were quarreling.
And there it was again. In a poetic leap, the singer identifies the curious sound she hears in her nearby tree as coming from sort of a squirrel thing, and sounds far more like a millennial than a young woman writing in the early 1950s.
In the yard, I keep a pig or two. They drop in for dinner like you used to do.
Her ongoing traffic with nature continues. She keeps pigs who join her for meals, the way her beloved does not or will not. The imagery could not be plainer. This person is no better than a pig, and she is perfectly happy to entertain other pig-like comers if this one will not satisfy her needs.
I don't stand in the need of company with everything I see, talking like you. Up that tree, there's sort of a squirrel thing. Sounds just like we did when we were quarreling. You may think you left me all alone, but I can hear you talk without a telephone. I don't stand in the need of company with everything I see, talking like you.
It is a bravura bit of songwriting, a lyric both empowering and entrancing. She doesn't need anyone, neither their sympathy nor their pity. We all want to be like this, all the time. Self-assured, witty, happy, reliant on nobody and no one. Free. Listening to this song, I found it hard not to be captivated by this person, to want her as a friend, to know her. Yet as the rest of the album played, as I took in songs like Playboy of the Western World, Father Neptune, and One by One, the suspicions that had been vaguely floating in my consciousness began to harden into the only obvious conclusion. This Connie Converse character had to be a hoax, a gimmick. The songs were too fresh, too modern, too anachronistic to have been recorded in the 1950s. And even if they had been recorded back then, someone surely would have discovered this person well before now. Music geeks like me would know about her certainly, but more to the point, she was so good that we would all know about her. These recordings didn't sound like the music of a forgotten someone who was essentially doing a lesser-known version of what other people had gotten famous for. A Big Mama Thornton to Elvis Presley, an Eddie Lang to Django Reinhardt, a Barbecue Bob to Robert Johnson. As far as I knew, there was no one from the early 1950s on the other side of the Connie Converse equation, not remotely. Not in the wide margins of the years that came before her, and not in those that immediately followed. This music, if I was willing to suspend my disbelief, would exist out of time, out of music history altogether. And the liner notes confirmed what my friend had told me, that Converse had literally vanished. Not like a J.D. Salinger, who retired from the public eye but then had continued writing in isolation. Not like a Terrence Malick or a Leigh Bonteque or a Henry Roth, artists who stayed out of sight for decades before finally releasing new work. And not like a Captain Beefheart or a Sue Tissue, musicians who'd walked away from their careers to do entirely other things. No, like a Jimmy Hoffa, like an Amelia Earhart. Gone. Online searches revealed spare facts, including images of a woman who looked and dressed like one I might see in my Williamsburg, Brooklyn neighborhood on any afternoon. The cat's eye granny glasses, the shirtwaist dresses, the librarian hairstyle, the parlor guitar, it all smacked of a certain twee Brooklyn aesthetic that back then had already become a fad. No, I thought. No way. During my 20s and 30s, working as an independent musician, I'd come to know more than I'd ever wanted to about self-promotion. I was now 40, and only too familiar with the cleverness required to hook people's attention. The spin, the reinvention, the PR stunts, I'd played that game. I knew the P.T. Barnum touch when I saw it. Connie Converse was clearly some canny hipster who'd come up with a clever marketing campaign for her music. Someone who, when not in character, had cultivated impeccable vocal fry and was devoted to the films of Wes Anderson. Her long vintage dress was likely hiding a series of inexpensive flash tattoos. She'd devised a name with a nice classic ring to it, like Lois Lane or Marjorie Morningstar. Created a noirish backstory about a disappearance. Photoshopped some images of herself posing in thrift store attire to make them look like 1950s era snapshots, and tried to pass off her own music as some kind of law.